We are awakening together. This is our weekly gathering we hold online. For more information, visit our website, awakening-together.org. We'd love to see you there.
All right. Hello, everyone, and happy Sunday. It's good to see you. April 26th, my calendar tells me it is. I know it's the last Sunday in April, so it's good to see you again. What we're going to do first is take this opportunity to remember our love for one another by greeting one another on the chat board. Thank you. I just want to say a special hi to Santosh Kumar. I don't remember seeing you here before. Maybe you've been here, but for me, you're new, so I want to say hi.
Hi, hello. Thank you.
I'd like to start with today's statement of purpose. As you all know, awakening together as an assembly of equals joined in common purpose, which is awakening to one true self. And so that means that within an appearance of different faiths, many cultures, many symbols, we all seek to discern one truth and to rest in its embrace. And today, I've named this weekly gathering, God is in the Freedom. God is in the Freedom. And it's really based on our first core value. That first core value is we trust everyone is led by unique inner guidance to one experience called awakening, which is realization of one true self. We live this value by supporting one another on different paths of awakening. Before we get to the devotional part of our service, I just want to share some announcements. The first announcement is I think you all are aware that we are planning on right now a fall retreat for September. And that fall retreat has two parts. It has a New Mexico pilgrimage, followed by a retreat called Keys to the Kingdom. Now, the Keys to the Kingdom portion of the fall retreat, there are partial scholarships available for that portion of the retreat. So if you're interested in the fall retreat, you can get a partial scholarship to at least that part. Now, the New Mexico pilgrimage is planned to happen first, September 20th through the 25th. And of course, depending on what happens with the current environment in the world, that may or may not happen. We're all going to wait and see, but you can go ahead and register for it, because if it doesn't happen, any monies you've paid will be fully returned. So there's no risk here. But then the second part of the retreat, the Keys to the Kingdom, and this is the portion that has the partial scholarships available, that portion will happen. Whether it happens at the retreat house or whether it happens online remains to be seen. But we are completely committed to the Keys to the Kingdom. So if you haven't looked at these two options, and if you need a scholarship and you haven't looked at the scholarship options and the scholarship criteria, what you can do is go to our website, awakening-together.org. Just click on retreats and classes, and as soon as you click on that menu, right underneath it, you'll see 2020 Fall Retreat and Pilgrimage, and you can click on that and get more information about that. The next thing I want to share with you is that we do have an open time slot in the sanctuary right now. If there's anyone who feels called to share in the sanctuary, that is on Wednesdays at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, which is 3:30 p.m. Mountain Time. That's a 30-minute slot. If you are interested in that slot, please contact Dawn. She's just put her email in the chat, awakeningtogethersanctuary@gmail.com. Also, as you all know, Awakening Together is now turning to an organization that is more open to everyone's participation through volunteerism. And in fact, let me just share my screen for a moment. If you come to our website, the volunteer tab is easy to see. It's right here on the second line. And when you click on volunteer, you'll find a list of things. Now, this list is going to be a living list, which means as things shift and change, this page is going to shift and change. So this isn't something that you want to check once and then say that you've done it. It's something you're going to want to come and check from time to time. For example, I noticed that since the last time I checked it, they're looking for a volunteer to become a part of the movie discussion group team. So this is a good place to come and see how you can participate in Awakening Together as a part of the total team that makes Awakening Together happen and supports everyone. But in addition to what's on this page, you may just receive your own guidance, something that's not on this page, something that you feel guided to do as a volunteer participant in Awakening Together. And if that happens, what you want to do is contact Jacqueline Eckert. If you know her email, you can contact her at her personal email, which is lightinthedream, all one word, lightinthedream@yahoo.com. Or you can use the contact form on our website. Let her know what your guidance is regarding volunteerism and coordinate with her. She's kind of the hub of all the volunteers as our president minister. Recently, I felt guidance to provide a service, and I'm sure many of you are aware of that service, in order to support the retreat house financially during this time when it's kind of a downtime because of the COVID-19 and we don't have people coming to the retreat house for retreats right now. And May especially, we have no online retreats in May. So I knew that May would be a zero income month and yet there's still bills, whether there's anybody there or not, right? So I felt guided to offer one-on-ones as a fundraiser for a minimum donation. I just want to let you know that those one-on-ones are all full. In fact, I added 6 additional. I had originally said I was going to do 10. I added 6 additional, but I just can't add another one. So I want to let you know those one-on-ones are full. Maybe someday I'll feel guided to provide this service again, but it's not something that I will be doing on a regular basis. But that's an example of service. That was a service that arose in me. Hey, I can do this for Awakening Together during this temporary time of need. And I'm providing that service. So watch for what may come up in you and then contact Jacqueline. That's what I did. I contacted Jacqueline and work with her in order to perform your service. Thank you. All right, let's go into a devotional prayer. One God, one self, I am that I am. This prayer is from and to all parts of myself. It's a prayer for realization, not merely the ultimate realization, which is awakening to the absolute. The prayer is inclusive of that, but it's not limited to that. This prayer is also for any realizations that we need along the way to that final and absolute realization. This prayer is for clarity regarding each and every stepping stone. Clarity about our individual way to the one final awakening. I ask that you perk up our ears, focus our eyes, tune in our hearts, make us like little antennas that receive the signal, sense the signal, know the signal, and follow the signal without distraction. It's what we all truly want. So give us the help that we need. Amen. All right, so as I mentioned, I named today's gathering, God is in the Freedom. But as I was listening to our open song, I realized another title I could have given it was, How Do Seekers Find? 2 different titles, but they're pointing in the same direction as today's message. God is in the freedom. How do seekers find? The answer is they find in the freedom. We're going to begin with a reading today. Andy Walker is generously agreed to be my reader. He is going to read excerpts from a book called Perfect Brilliant Stillness by David Carse. It's the book I'm reading in the morning right now over coffee. So Andy, please take it away.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Regina. I'm honored to read this morning from the excerpts that Regina provided. I'm sharing my screen if you want to follow along. The Tao that can be spoken is not the Tao. What is expressed is conceptual only, a translation into terms available in the dream. Between truth and its translation into dream concepts and terms, like a conceptual chasm crossable only by the occurrence of the understanding itself. Many are interested in crossing the chasm. They are spiritual seekers. They are hungry, insatiably so, for any shred of evidence or guidance or advice or indication of what that chasm and its crossing and the other side are like. Essentially, the truth is that the other side is not like anything, and you can't get there from here. Rather, this already is the other side. All is here. There is no there. End of story. This is the true nature of things, always, everywhere, right before your eyes. But who can see it? Once seen, it is obvious that beyond is this, here. But say that to an ardent seeker, and you're likely to get a groan of frustration. Nevertheless, seekers are a persistent lot, driven or drawn by a force they do not understand. And those who they know or believe, or at least suspect to have gone, completed beyond, are watched and examined and plied with questions, and even imitated in the hope that some of what they seek might wear off. But despite long tradition, the understanding is not a contact high, nor is it known to be contagious. Whatever can be learned by observation of or contact with a known sage, or from direct answers to questions posed, is descriptive only. An attempt, however apparently feeble or skillful, to translate the inexpressible into terms available in the dream. The story, the description of how the understanding occurred in a certain body-mind organism, and descriptions of the ongoing experiencing in that body-mind organism are only that, descriptions, and cannot be taken as prescriptions of how another body-mind organism might get there from here. One in whom awakening has occurred is observed to have no attachment to the outcome of actions. So this is taught as a prescription. You must work hard to somehow no longer be attached to outcome. One in whom the understanding has happened is seen to sit quietly in deep stillness and silence for periods of time, and when asked what he is thinking, replies that there is no thought. So it is taught that you should try to sit quietly and have no thoughts. The teacher lives a celibate life, alone. So the students become renunciates. The teacher is married, so the disciples go out and get married. The teacher eats meat or does not eat meat, and the devotees follow suit. Nisargadatta Maharaj smoked cigarettes, and a startling number of his followers took up smoking. But what is happening in the awakened is happening spontaneously, without trying, either as a consequence of the natural programming and conditioning of that body-mind, in which case it has nothing whatsoever to do with awakening, or as a spontaneous outcome, a natural side effect of awakening. In that particular body-mind organism, there is no one to try. Gathering stories about awakening can serve as a huge impediment, keeping the seeker running in circles. I have had sincere seekers at Ramesh's morning talks in Bombay, when they heard some of my story, come and ask me how to book a trip to the Amazon jungle where my awakening happened, and how to gain access to the tribe I was staying with. This is crazy. Forget it. It will not happen that way for you. Two illustrations. One, a Zen saying, hence rather brief. Once a master has used a ladder to climb to the top of the wall, that ladder is thrown away forever and never used again. Find your own damn ladder. Better yet, know that it will find you, that it already has, that your feet are already on the rungs. And the other, a rabbinical tale, hence somewhat more verbose. A woman came to the rabbi complaining that she could not conceive a child and asking for the rabbi's advice and help. Ah, said the rabbi, that is difficult. But you know, it was the same for my mother. For many years, she could not conceive. And so she went to see the great rabbi, the Baal Shem Tov. He asked her only this: what are you willing to give? And what are you willing to do? She thought about it. She was a poor woman and did not have many possessions. Finally, she went home and got her most valuable possession, the shawl she wore at her wedding, a family heirloom which had been her mother's and her grandmother's. Then she returned to the rabbi. However, since she was poor, she had to walk. And by the time she returned, the itinerant rabbi had left for another town. For 6 weeks, she walked from town to town, always arriving just after the Baal Shem Tov had finally left. Finally, she caught up with him. He accepted the gift and gave it to the local synagogue. My mother walked all the way home, the rabbi concluded, and a year later, I was born. How wonderful, cried the woman, truly relieved. I have my wedding shawl at home. I will bring it to you and can give it to the synagogue, and you can give it to the synagogue, and surely I will be given a child. Ah, said the rabbi, shaking his head sadly. Unfortunately, that will not work. The difference, you see, is that now you have heard the story, while my mother had no story to go by. Thank you, Regina. I pass the mic back to you.
Thank you, Andy. I appreciate it. All right, so how to approach this topic. It's an interesting topic. It's one that different people have questioned me about over the years. You know, it's that topic of, you know, we have, for example, Nisargadatta often says in his teachings, you know, that we need to struggle, persevere, as well as other teachers point that out. And then you have these teachers that say, you need do nothing. In fact, the Course in Miracles says that's really the realization. I need do nothing, right? And it seems like there's a big difference between struggle and do nothing. And, it's just like it talked about in this meeting, there's this chasm that needs to be crossed. In fact, that's why I picked the song Somewhere Over the Rainbow. She was singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow, right? There's this chasm that needs to be crossed. And I don't know how to get there from here, is the thought. And people frequently, most often, look outside to try and figure out how to cross over to the other side of the rainbow. They read different books, they listen to different teachers, they try different methods. And for a lot of people, they can spend 10, 20, 30, 40 years doing this. And to be absolutely honest, other than having gained a lot of intellectual knowledge, gotten absolutely nowhere, Their day is still ruined if they stub their toe or if somebody looks at them funny. I mean, just like nothing has changed at all. So the question is, how do we really cross the chasm? Like, what's the true way to get there? How do seekers find? And like I said, God is in the freedom. A Course in Miracles is interesting because if you do the workbook all the way to the end and you get to the epilogue, it's very clear that the path that you will take beyond 365 workbook lessons is going to be highly individualized, and that you are being placed in the hands of your inner guide. Unfortunately, few people take that to heart. I have known people that do the course workbook starting on January 1 every year, year after year after year. And what's even a little sadder is may possibly have never done it with their full heart, their full intent, right? It's kind of a little rote exercise they do year after year after year. And when they get to the end and it turns them over to the inner guide, they go right back to lesson number 1. It's interesting, The Wizard of Oz. First of all, the way Dorothy got there, we can't do. Remember, she's singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and then what happens? This tornado comes. Right? This tornado, she runs in the house, and the tornado picks up the house, and the tornado takes her to this other land, apparently somewhere over the rainbow, and she crashes, right? Only what we learn later is where she actually went was just a dream. That's symbolic that the entire spiritual journey is just a dream. NTI says that you have to follow the path of untruth to truth. That's very interesting. That's exactly what Dorothy did in The Wizard of Oz. You follow the path of untruth to truth. Now listen to those words very carefully. If it's the path of untruth, can we find a true path within it? Logic would say no, and logic is correct, which means there isn't a way. That may scare some people, but hopefully by the end of this talk, it won't. But that's one of the things you have to accept right from the very beginning. There isn't a way to get there from here. In fact, as our reading said, it's because it is here. You're already here, right? Jesus said the kingdom of God is at hand. But that doesn't mean that there isn't a genuine realization that needs to happen that hasn't happened. You can't just pretend. You can't just say, oh, okay, I'm already here. And then, blah, 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 life goes on. That's not it. That's not it. And it's not it. So even though it's here, it's already here. There's nowhere to go. How do I get there from here? And the first answer is there isn't a way. And when you understand that, there's great joy. Let's look at Dorothy again, okay? So first of all, we all know that we can't sit in our house and wait for a tornado to come and pick us up, because it's likely not going to happen. And that's a part of the message of the reading, is the way that other people have done it is not going to happen for you. In fact, instead of studying all the different ways people have awakened and trying to figure out what is the way, it would be more efficient to study all the way people have awakened and cross them off and say, okay, so that's not going to happen to me. That already happened. Okay, that's not how it's going to happen for me. That already happened. Okay, that's not how it's going to happen for me. That already happened. You know, you're kind of eliminating, imitating. That's a great thing to do. Eliminate, imitate. You know, what the reading said, I love this little Zen saying: once a master has used a ladder to climb to the top of the wall, that ladder is thrown away forever and never used again. This means you have to find your own way, because you can't find it by imitating anybody else. In fact, you can be certain that all of those ways are now closed. You know, like if you tried to do what Ramana Maharshi did, if you know his story, where he had this fear of death come over him, and then he laid down on the floor, made himself stiff as a board, and, you know, imagined he was dying. You can do that and do that and do that, and you will not achieve the awakening he achieved, because that was his way. Right? So you can cross that one out. I don't need to lay on the floor, get stiff as a board, and pretend that I'm dead. You know, it's just like David Carse said, it happened to him when he went down into the Amazon jungle, and it happened to happen there. And then these seekers who are looking outside, trying to find the way by imitating other people's way, you know, they come up to him and they say, you know, how do I get to the jungle? You know, who did you book this trip with? What tribe do I stay with? It's like, no, that ladder has been used. That ladder has been thrown away. Forget it. You know, and this story about the woman who went to the rabbi because she wanted to conceive a child. And the rabbi told the story of how it happened for his mom. And she's like, great, I can do that. He's like, no, that's not going to work for you. The difference you see is that now you've heard this story. You're imitating. Do you know what imitate means? At least to me. I mean, I don't know, you can find this in the dictionary. We'll call it the RDA definition of imitation, if you're okay with that. It means not genuine. How do you expect to have a genuine awakening through the path of not genuine? Again, logic would say you can't. That's the message today. There isn't a way that people have walked that you can imitate and also walk, because that would not be genuine for you. This is why the Course says it's going to be highly individualized. And this is why the Course puts you in the hands of your inner guide, because guess what? The only one who can help you truly find your way is your inner guide. In fact, he also says the difference you see is that now you've heard this story. And then he says, well, my mother had no story to go by. That's the no way. You do best when you start off with no way. You know, it's interesting because I recently finished the 7 Steps to Awakening sometime in March or early April. I don't remember exactly. But as I was nearing the end of the 7 Steps to Awakening in my contemplations, I noticed several things happening. One thing that happened was some of the stuff that I learned that felt truly helpful from NTI and Inner Ramana primarily. You know, these things that were given, by the way, I want to point out, given me, which means I'm not imitating, right? They're pretty genuine for me. So some of these things from NTI and Inner Ramana that were given me came back into my 7 Steps journal near the end. Boom, take this, you know, boom, remember this. Boom, remember this. Boom, remember this, right? I saw these things coming back at the very end. But then another thing happened. I found myself saying goodbye to everything anyone outside of me had ever taught me, no matter how grateful I was for it, how useful I thought it was. I said thank you and bye. I said thank you and bye to everything that was outside of me. And I knew, one thing you'll see a lot if you ever look at my journal, is I knew I am the way. You know, Jesus said that, right? I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. And I knew that to be true. I am the way. Why the heck would I go looking out there for how other people got there if I'm the way? In fact, think about it. Okay, think about it. If I'm the way, right? If I'm the way, and I'm looking out there, guess what? I'm looking away from the way. No wonder people do this for 10, 20, 30, 40 years and make no progress at all. They're looking 100% in the wrong direction. I am the way. I am the truth. I am the life. Right? The only direction I can really look in is here. Again, let's go back to Dorothy. So she's in this tornado. The house gets picked up. The house gets dropped down into a dream, actually. And she's a seeker. We just saw her in Somewhere Over the Rainbow. You know, she's a seeker. But instead, her first stop is in an illusion. Just like NTI says, you follow the path of untruth to truth. But even within that, there were some things that were helpful to her, right? You know, they told her, well, you need to go see the wizard. And she's like, well, how do I get there? And the answer was, you follow the yellow brick road. Well, the yellow brick road represents your own inner guidance. And then at the beginning, the yellow brick road seemed to be everywhere. It was very confusing. What is my inner guidance? You know, where do I go? And they said, start at the beginning, right? And they had her get right in the center. And at first, she's just spiraling around and around. But eventually, she's off following the yellow brick road. And then along the way, while she's following this inner guidance, there's some other things that are a little confusing. Like she comes to this one corner where the scarecrow is out and the yellow brick road seems to go in all directions. And she asks the scarecrow, which way do I go? You know, he goes like this. Well, that's because at that point in the journey, any of those choices are fine. Doesn't really matter. What do you want? Which way do you want to go? Right? That happens on this path. Which way do you want to go? It doesn't matter which way you go. Other times, the path was very distinct, leading in one direction. In that time, you follow that inner guidance very distinct in that one direction. There were also some scary things that happened along the way, you know, like when the apples started throwing, the apple trees started throwing their apples at her, and when the wicked witch would come and the monkeys with wings. And, you know, that's going to happen too as you follow your inner guidance. Your inner guidance sometimes leads you into circumstances that allow things to come up to be purified: fear, unworthiness, guilt, desire to control, right? So that happens too. And then there was this one point in the movie where the yellow brick road disappeared. Remember, there were nothing but these poppies everywhere. But yet the goal could be seen. You could see the Emerald City. And I found that to be true too. There comes a point where it's like, you know, at least in my experience, I was led very concretely, that's the best word to use, very concretely by an inner guidance. And then there came a time where this inner guidance, in a way, seemed to disappear, seemed to go away. But it didn't really go away. That's the interesting thing. You know, if you read NTI in Acts, it talks about the 4 stages of the spiritual path. Actually, it only talks about the first 3 in Acts. The later one is in Corinthians. But the third stage of the spiritual path is service, which is being surrendered to the inner voice. And it says what happens in that path is merging. Well, once the merging has actually occurred, you no longer feel an inner guidance like an other guiding you. You just know, right? You are merged with that knowing. You just know. And that's when the yellow brick road seems to disappear. And then you kind of you're still finding your way, but you're finding your way from an inner knowing that you have learned to trust. Now, what's also interesting about the story of the Wizard of Oz is, you know, she thinks she knows how this is going to happen, how this I'll call it for now, final awakening is going to happen. She's going to go to the wizard and he's going to give it to her. Oh, that doesn't happen. Well, the wizard says, go kill the witch, bring back the broomstick, then I'll give it to you. So she goes and does everything the wizard says, exactly what the wizard says, right? She comes back with the broomstick. Now she's going to get the awakening. That doesn't happen. And then the wizard says, well, I'll take you home myself. I've been to Kansas. In fact, he's from there. I'll take you home myself. And the balloon somehow, I don't remember, the string gets cut earlier and he takes off and he can't return. And now that didn't happen. So all of the ways that she expected awakening to happen based on what she'd been told, none of them happened. That's kind of important to realize too. Everything that she expected did not occur. The difference you see is that now you have heard this story, while my mother had no story to go by. Your answer is in what you don't know. Your answer is in what you haven't imagined. And then, of course, in the very, very end, Glenda tells her that she had the power all along. Right? And she clicks the ruby slippers 3 times and she ends up back at home, which is outside of the dream. And she realized, she'd always been home. She'd always been in heaven. She'd always been where she sought to be. And that is, kind of what we realize. We've always been here. We've always been that. But yet there's this journey through the illusion to that realization. And the point is, the journey through the illusion to that realization is 100% unique. Seems to me like I heard one teacher somewhere along the way describe it this way. Consciousness is playing. This is the play of consciousness. Think of consciousness as a great big child, a great big 3-year-old. Right? This is the play of consciousness. And consciousness doesn't want to play the same thing over and over and over again. It gets bored very easily. So once consciousness has played awakening this way, boom, it wants another unique, creative way. One reason that this talk appealed to me when I, read this in David Carse, and I thought, ooh, that sounds good. I'll do that for my weekly gathering, is that we have a group of people graduating Gentle Healing Year 3 very soon. Their actual graduation, if you want to write this down, will be on May 12th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, which is 8:30 p.m. 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, which is 6:30 Mountain. So if you want to come to their graduation, please do. Again, May 12th, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 6:30 Mountain, right here, of course, in the sanctuary. But for many of these gentle healing participants, they began in January of 2016. Following this yellow brick road that I actually laid out for them, right? And now their yellow brick road is disappearing, just like Dorothy's did when she hit the land of the poppies, right? I won't lay out any other bricks. I'm not going to do anything else to help them. That illusion is ended. And they need to find their own way. And in these 3.5 years of gentle healing, there have been a lot of teachings, and some of those teachings are going to be a part of their way. But some of those teachings, they're going to have to ignore. They may have heard a certain teaching from a certain teacher, and it was taught as the way. But it's not their way, in spite of the fact that that teacher says this is the way. And so they're going to have to find that discernment within them when they enter the poppy field. They're going to have to find how to get through the poppy field, how to cross that chasm, how to get to that genuine realization in their own genuine way. And my best advice for them is, it's not anything that you've read. It's not anything that you've heard. it's not anything that you've learned. That's my best advice. I had an experience once, many years ago. Seems to me like it might have been December of 2006, but I'm not sure about anything in the past. And I've told this story a couple times. It's not a story I tell often, but it feels appropriate to tell it here. What happened in this experience was that the I, the personal I, the me, completely disappeared. It did not exist at all. The way that I described that moment is that I was just eyes, nothing else. And what was funny during this period of time when this disappearing happened is that I was guided. I had clear guidance coming into my mind. My mind was quiet. There was no thought, but a thought would come in to guide me. Other than that, there were no thoughts in between those thoughts. That was kind of funny. And so a thought came in that told me to go to the computer and look up Regina Dawn Akers. Now, in that moment, I had no idea who Regina Dawn Akers was. It wasn't me. I was just eyes. In fact, if you had asked me in that moment, who are you? I would have said, nobody, and been, completely honest. That was the best I'm nobody. But I went to the computer and I looked up this person named Regina Dawn Akers, and I found her biography, and I began reading her biography, reading her story. And it was so funny because as I read her story, it was like there was this memory way back here in the recesses of my mind, barely accessible, that I used to think I was her. And I just laughed. I thought that was so funny because it was obvious to me that she was just a character. She wasn't anything. I mean, she had no substance at all. And to have thought that I was her was just so funny, so funny. And then I was guided to go and read the Bible. And I opened the Bible up to, do I have a Bible nearby? It was near the end of the book of John. I guess I don't remember the exact chapter, but it might even have been the last chapter in John. And this is the chapter where Jesus says to Peter 3 times, do you love me? Right? He says, yes, I love you. Do you love me? Yes, I love you. Right? Do you love me? Yes, I love you. And then after Peter says, yes, I love you 3 times to Jesus, Jesus asks him, take care of my sheep. Well, what I heard from this inner guidance that was coming in was it asked me if I accepted that assignment, the assignment given to Peter, take care of my sheep. And of course I said, yes, of course. And then I don't remember exactly how it happened, but somehow that experience of being just eyes disappeared, and I came back and I felt like this person of Regina again. But there was this knowing that I'd made a heck of a commitment to take care of the sheep. Now, I don't intend to insult anyone here, so hopefully you won't be insulted by what I'm going to say next. But what David Carse is pointing to here is that most people are like sheep. They follow. They aren't looking within for their own inner guidance. They're looking outside, and they're trying to find someone to follow. And the problem is all of this following is getting them nowhere, because as we've pointed out very clearly today, any ladder that's been used has been thrown away. You can't get there by following another, no matter how brilliant or how genuine or how honest that other one is, right? I mean, certainly you can pick up some tips, but you can't follow their path and get there. And that's what most sheep are trying to do. So my job was not to become another one that, had sheep following me, even though I was told to take care of my sheep. It wasn't become the leader with the sheep following. That's what was already seen not to work. Take care of my sheep is different. Take care of my sheep means help them to find their own inner path. Help them to learn to look within themselves. That's how you take care of the sheep. And that was the mission of the Foundation for the Holy Spirit, which eventually became Awakening Together, right? The mission of the Foundation for the Holy Spirit was to help people become self-reliant with their own inner guidance. And Awakening Together is a form, the primary form now, through which we accomplish that mission. You know, the purpose of gentle healing is not to have people following me, even though I'm laying out the road that I took. The beginning part of that road, where there are lots of tips by Regina, that's just to help teach discernment. Because frankly, a lot of people will believe anything. I'm sorry, like I said, I don't want to insult anyone, but these are just truths. And there's a genuine discernment that comes through other teachers too. You know, Ramana Maharshi, Nisargadatta, Adyashanti, Muji, right? There's a, you know, Rupert Spira, there are different names, Eckhart Tolle, different names will keep coming to mind. But there are also teachers out there that people perceive as equal and the same who are not. They're teaching BS. And most people don't know the difference. So the first part of gentle healing is to help teach that true discernment. But then what happens in gentle healing? Gentle healing year 1, you're mainly following tips. Gentle healing year 2, there's still some tips, but then you start contemplating the daily thoughts on your own. You're now learning to go within. You're learning to get your own guidance kind of spawned by those daily thoughts. And then in year 3, you're let go even more. You're given quotes, there's no tips. You're contemplating these quotes on your own. You're getting your own guidance. And I will tell you, from someone who has looked at the journals at the beginning of year 3 and looked at the journals at the end of year 3, people have made significant, genuine progress in learning to listen to their inner selves, right? Oh my God, that's what this is all about. I mean, these people deserve to graduate, right? They've done it. They're not followers anymore. They're not sheep anymore. Woohoo! Right? They're not, so guess what? Since they're not sheep anymore, I don't have to take care of them anymore. My job was to take care of the sheep. They're not sheep anymore. And so they are going to graduate. And they're going to be on their own. And they're going to have to find their own way through the poppy field, their own way across the chasm, their own way to genuine realization. And they're going to do it in a genuine way, a way that's coming from within them. And what I hope is that they'll still do it right here in Awakening Together. Because even though none of us can copy them, there's still something that we pick up in watching someone else follow a genuine path, right? Maybe we just pick up on the genuineness. Maybe we just pick up on the sincerity. And maybe that's all we need to pick up on. But if they stay here and do it here, it's helping us to help everyone become self-reliant. You know, if somehow there was this misperception, you know, if these other people who are about to do it in their own genuine way, like go off and disappear and are out of view, and Regina, who did it right here in front of everybody. I mean, I've been doing this first through ACIM Gather and then through Awakening Together, but I've been doing this in front of everybody since the very beginning. My very first teaching was April 2005. Every one of my steps are well documented, right? But if everyone else disappears and does it in private, then at some point there could be this misperception that Regina did it and nobody else did. You know, the way to show that everyone can do this and that everyone who has ever awakened has done this is for you guys, you graduates, to step into the glass house now and do it in front of everybody. Right? Just let them watch you. Let them witness you. I remember a couple of times in my past when people asked me, basically about, you know, how I was going to awaken or how I knew I was going to be safe when it looked like maybe I wasn't going to be. And my answer was always, I don't know. Watch me and we'll find out together. Your path lies in the I don't know. My path lied in the I don't know. My path is in the I don't know. That's the way. But you can travel your I don't know right here. And that will help other people to trust their own I don't know. Right? And maybe that's the gift that we give. It's just teaching them to look within, find their guidance, trust the mystery, follow the I don't know. Your way is unique, right? But let's all do it right here together. And that's even what this volunteer thing is all about. You know, that's a part of this, because in participating in awakening together through volunteerism, we're following that third phase that Acts talks about, that path of service where the merging occurs, right? Everything here is put here to help you awaken, but nobody can tell you how. And nobody knows what your role is in helping others. Nobody knows how you're going to serve. So just trust the I don't know. Look within instead of out. And follow. You know, you'll awaken your way. I'm awakening my way. Everyone awakens their way. Which really leads us to our next song. Again, an oldie, but a goodie. It's Frank Sinatra. Of course, if you want to donate to Awakening Together, you can do that during the song or anytime. Also, contemplate everything that's been said as you hear this song. This is our contemplation song. Of course, the name of the song is My Way. Dawn, take it away. Thank you. First of all, Rev Billy asked, where is the link to the reading? There isn't one, but we can post it with the audio. Andy, I noticed you corrected several typos that I had made because I typed this up pretty quick. If you are able to send your copy, which has the typos corrected, to Dawn at awakeningtogethersanctuary@gmail.com, then she can post a link to that reading along with the audio. Yeah, so, you know, I said the name of this talk was God is in the freedom. The freedom to follow your way. The freedom not to have to do what another teacher says is the right way when that doesn't feel right for you, right? That's the freedom. God is in the freedom. God is in you following your guidance, doing what feels right for you. But again, you need to learn the difference between your ego and your inner guidance, because God is not in the ego's freedom. Right? And that's why gentle healing starts off with discernment, teaching discernment first. You have to find that genuine inner guidance, but then you follow your way. It doesn't matter if another teacher says, oh no, you should do it differently. That other teacher is talking about their way, right? So this is the time where we let you guys share based on what you heard. Dawn, if you would help me. It looks like Carla has her hand up already. Yeah, so Carla, please take it away.
Thank you. I think I know what I'm going to say, and then what comes out of my mouth is rarely what I anticipate. So what I heard, I don't know, I might get emotional. What I heard and what you shared is surrender. Surrender to the unknown. Surrender to the path. We don't know what that is laid out to us. I'm using words, by the I am, by truth, by, there's no words that can describe. It's so beautiful. Yet it's unknown until it happens. So it seems like I'm using words, but to describe that I've been I felt led to trust. And I thought I got it, you know? And of course, that was ego, kind of, oh, I got it. And I was shown deeper and deeper levels of it, opportunities to experience it more fully. Yeah, it seems like in December, my David, my spiritual partner, maybe, said, I think we should go to Baja. And I'm like, and he mentioned next October, and I'm like, that's too fast for me. And I think he did that in like September or something. But in December, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go now. Let's sell the house on. It's best to sell it in the beginning of the year, not in October. And I was moving and I was doing stuff, and then I broke my ankle. And it seems like, oh, it's all. It seems like I was all ready to trust. And I mean, I'm like almost 30 years of living in this place. Lots of stuff here, and way more than I thought I realized. And I'm ready to go. And now the COVID thing, it's like, now my ankle's healed, and I'm like, I can't sell anything in my house because everybody wants to come, which I get it. And so here I was already, I'm like, I'm willing. I'm like throwing in everything I got. And then it changes. Things change, and it's about, and I can feel ego, really, the anxiety, the impatience, wanting things to be my way, which is always ego. And so, and I'm like, what am I doing wrong? What's going on? And then I've been relying on guidance, kind of outside myself, but in myself. It seems like it's both. I don't know. And then I'm like, show me. And then Regina, come on, this morning. And I was shown that it's not about the knowing how, why. And I have no idea. It's about not having any idea and trusting that you will be shown when the moment comes that is helpful to know, or when something, I don't know how to describe it, but it's not need, but when the moment comes, I will know. And that's what I need to hear. It's another level of trust. In a way, nothing's ever changed, but everything has changed. So thank you, Regina.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Carla. And I'm going to lead into our closing song. And if anybody else wants to share, please hang out for the fellowship and share during the 30-minute fellowship time. The closing song has been a favorite of mine for many, many, many years. It used to be an ego song for me, and now it's not. Now it's about following my way spiritually. It's "Don't Rain on My Parade." It was originally Barbra Streisand. This is the Glee version, but I want to tell you why I'm playing it before we turn it over. You know, Jesus said in the Bible, "Don't cast your pearls before swine." And in effect, Krishna says the same thing in the last chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. You know, what are these two masters talking about? Don't cast your pearls before swine. Well, again, your way is unique. And it's very, very possible, in fact, probable, that not everyone in the world is going to agree with your way. Even some spiritual teachers. You know, if you were to tell a teacher who teaches meditation is the only way, and your way doesn't involve meditation, that teacher may tell you that you're wrong. And that may cast doubt in your mind and may actually stumble you on your path enough that you don't finish it in this lifetime. That's what they mean by don't cast your pearls before swine. I will tell you, Awakening Together is committed to not being the swine. This is why we have the core values that we have. We are committed to letting you follow your own path and supporting you. Now, we do have core values. You know, if you started coming here and teaching something that was not aligned with our core values, you know, like everybody has to accept Jesus as his savior, the blood of Christ, and all that, we might say, I'm sorry, you can't teach that here. It has to be in alignment with our core values. But as our purpose says, within many faiths, many cultures, right, many teachings, each one finds their own inner guidance, their unique inner guidance, and we support them in that. So cast your pearls here, and we won't rain on your parade. So with that, let's listen to Don't Rain on My Parade, the Glee version. Thank you. So, yeah, so we won't rain on your parade. You know, come here and follow your way. You know, and again, if you do start to really go off because we have core values, we'll let you know. There are false teachings out there, teachings people confuse with truth. We'll keep you on the right path. But we're going to let you do that your way because you have to, because that's the only way for you. One more reminder, if you want to come to the Gentle Healing Year 3 graduation and send these people off on their way with a sweet kick in the butt, you know how the mother kicks them out of the nest, right? We'll give them a real sweet kick in the butt. Then come on May 12th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 6:30 p.m. Mountain Time. All right, releasing the mic.
Thank you for watching. This was our weekly gathering that we hold online. For more information, you can visit our website at awakening-together.org, or you can subscribe to our Awakening Together channel and click the bell for more notifications when we post our weekly gatherings. Thank you again for watching.